Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are jumping headfirst into a book that looks, well, on the surface, like a simple children's fable. George Orwell's 1945 novella, Animal Farm.
Right. It really is the ultimate literary bait and switch, isn't it? You start reading about, talking pigs and horses,
Yeah.
and before you know it, you are deep into this ruthless, really precise analysis of political totalitarianism.
Yeah.
What we found, looking into the context, is that this animal story is just a direct, absolutely brilliant critique of the Russian Revolution and the Soviet dictatorship that followed.
And that's exactly our mission for you today. We're going to pull out the key connections, link that barnyard drama directly to Soviet history. Think of it as, well, your shortcut to grasping the real historical weight behind the characters, the events. And importantly, how Orwell uses satire to make his point.
And that form is so critical. Literary critics, they often point out that Animal Farm is a juvenalian satire.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Well, it's not gentle humor. It's not meant to make you chuckle. It's often described as bitter, angry, and misanthropic.
Wow.
Yeah. Orwell used this beast fable format to deliver this just blistering indictment of power abuse. He wasn't just trying to expose it. He wanted to force sort of a correction in how people thought about it.
Okay, let's unpack that, the allegory. Starting with the conditions before the revolution, Mr. Jones's farm.
Right, Mr. Jones, the owner of Manor Farm, he really personifies the neglectful and completely inept leader.
Drinks too much, forgets the animals.
Exactly. Often drunk, forgets to feed them, the farm's falling apart. He's the clear stand-in for the last Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, historical analysis really suggests the Tsar's, well, his inability to hold things together, especially during the huge stress of World War I, that directly paved the way for revolution.
But, bad leadership isn't enough on its own, right? You need an idea, a philosophy. Which brings us to Old Major.
Old Major, yeah. The prize boar. He plants the seed of animalism. He's a really fascinating figure, actually. Kind of a composite.
So?
Well, he seems to represent both Karl Marx, the father of the core ideology, the workers, the proletariat being exploited by the owners, the bourgeoisie, and also Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, the powerful speaker, the orator who really championed communism in Russia. Major's big speech, detailing all the animals' misery, calling for rebellion, that mirrors Marx's class struggle analysis perfectly.
And the timing fits, too, right? Old Major gives this big inspirational speech, but then he dies just a few days later.
Just 3 days later, yeah. So like Lenin, who kind of set the stage for the revolution, he dies before the new system is, well, fully established. Or, as it turns out, before it gets completely corrupted.
So the initial change happens fast. The animals rise up after Jones messes up one too many times.
Totally spontaneous, really. They drive the humans out, and immediately Manor Farm becomes Animal Farm.
Just like Russia, becoming the USSR.
Exactly, and they set up these high ideals, the Seven Commandments. But, right away, the stage is set for a power struggle over what those ideals actually mean in practice.
Okay, this is where it gets really juicy, I think. The power struggle right after the revolution. The two young boars, Snowball and Napoleon.
This is the absolute heart of the early Soviet allegory. It's the clash between Trotsky and Stalin, played out by pigs.
So Snowball first. He's linked to Leon Trotsky.
Right. Snowball embodies that kind of visionary organizational energy of the revolution. He's the intellectual one. He writes the original commandments. And crucially, he comes up with the idea for the windmill.
The windmill. That's the big project.
Yeah, and looking at the historical context, it clearly represents that big push for modernization, specifically the Soviet Union's first 5-year plan for rapid industrialization. Big ambitions.
Okay, contrasted with Napoleon, he's Joseph Stalin. Sheer ruthless ambition.
Totally. What's interesting about Napoleon is Orwell describes him as not much of a talker, but he's absolutely determined to get his way. And his first move, it isn't teaching or building.
It's getting in power.
It's acquiring power through force. Precisely. Before the windmill plans even get going, he secretly takes these puppies.
Oh yeah, the dogs.
Sequesters them, trains them in secret, and they emerge as his personal enforcers, his secret police force.
The NKVD parallel.
Exactly. Stalin's security apparatus. So Snowball's vision, it gets systematically crushed by Napoleon's reliance on, well, brute force and intimidation.
And that imbalance leads to actual violence. Napoleon uses those dogs to chase Snowball right off the farm.
Just like Stalin drove Trotsky into exile. But it's even more chilling, maybe, because Napoleon then starts systematically erasing Snowball from the farm's history.
Painting him as the ultimate traitor.
The scapegoat for absolutely everything that goes wrong, any failure. Blame Snowball.
Right, and to keep that story straight, you need someone spinning the narrative constantly. You need Squealer.
Ugh, Squealer. Napoleon's chief misinformation officer. He's indispensable. What's fascinating is he's not just a mouthpiece. He provides the structural justification for every single abuse of power.
He's maybe the key character for understanding Orwell's critique of propaganda, wouldn't you say? The analysis suggests he's so clever with words he can turn black into white.
Oh, absolutely. He doesn't just tell lies. He uses the specific kind of linguistic manipulation. He rewrites memory, rewrites logic itself.
Like with the pigs moving into the farmhouse, sleeping in beds.
Exactly. He doesn't deny they're in beds. He just redefines bed. He says, well, the rule was against sheets, and they took the sheets off, so they're just sleeping on straw in beds.
So technically not breaking the rule, according to him.
It's classic political gaslighting, controlling the population by controlling the language they use to think about reality.
Which brings us, I think, to the core tragedy and maybe the greatest satirical device in the whole book. That gradual, systematic betrayal of the revolution's ideals. You see it perfectly in how the Seven Commandments change.
Oh, it's like watching a horror movie in slow motion. The core principles of animalism just get chipped away, one by one. And Squealer's always there with some clever excuse.
Like the rule against alcohol.
Gone once the pigs discover a case of whiskey. The rule against killing other animals, oh, that gets amended. You can't kill another animal without cause.
Yeah.
Very convenient.
And then the final commandment, the one that started as the cornerstone. All animals are equal.
That pristine, egalitarian ideal.
Yeah.
And through Squealer's tireless twisting of logic, it finally becomes that utterly corrupt, devastating statement. All animals are equal.
But some animals are more equal than others. Ugh.
That single sentence just lays bare the entire fraud, the total failure of the ideals they supposedly fought for. It sums up the whole totalitarian mindset.
And this betrayal hits hardest when you look at the characters who represent the ordinary workers of the proletariat.
That would be the cart horses, Boxer and Clover. They're kind, maternal, incredibly hardworking, and just heartbreakingly naive.
They represent that blind loyalty that allows tyranny to flourish.
Absolutely. Boxer's two mottos. They just capture it perfectly. Napoleon is always right, and I will work harder.
Tragic.
It's the tragic dedication of the exploited worker who trusts the party line completely, even while their own life gets worse and worse.
It's such a contrast with Benjamin, the donkey.
Ah, Benjamin, the cynic. He alone, Orwell tells us, is not fooled by Squealer's lies. He sees right through it all from the start.
He represents that kind of skeptical intellectual, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And his role raises some complex moral questions. He has the clarity, the understanding. But he chooses detachment, silence.
Believes things will always be bad, basically.
Right. He thinks life would remain fundamentally the same. So his cynicism protects him from the propaganda, sure. But his inaction lets the abuses happen until a critical moment.
Okay, we need to talk about the parts that mirror the really brutal stuff. Stalin's reign of terror. Orwell didn't shy away from showing that suffering on the farm.
No, he didn't. There are two really stark examples of historical trauma translated into the allegory. First, the hens' revolt.
They didn't want to give up their eggs.
Exactly. Their eggs represented their future, their means of reproduction. Napoleon demanded them for trade. When they resisted, he crushed the revolt by starving them. Several die.
And the historical parallel there is.
It's a direct parallel to the brutal suppression and slaughter of the kulaks, the wealthier peasants in Russia who resisted Stalin's forced collectivization program in the late 1920s. Just lays bare the regime's cruelty.
And then there are those terrifying public confessions. Animals suddenly admitting to being Snowball's secret agents.
Followed by immediate executions by Napoleon's dogs, yes. That's a direct mirror of the infamous show trials, particularly the Moscow Purge trials of the 1930s.
Real events where people confessed under duress to crimes they likely didn't commit.
Exactly. These farmyard confessions, like the Moscow trials, were designed purely to instill fear, eliminate any potential dissent, whether real or imagined. It marks the final transformation of Animal Farm into a state ruled by terror.
And the ultimate, most crushing betrayal really centers on Boxer, doesn't it? After all his work, all his loyalty.
he collapses. After years of selfless labor, literally working himself to death, building the windmill, his lungs give out.
It's just the ultimate gut punch of the story.
It really is. Squealer, of course, spins this elaborate lie, claiming Napoleon is sending Boxer to the best veterinary hospital.
But Benjamin,
Finally breaking his long silence, reads the side of the van that comes to take Boxer away.
it's not an ambulance.
No. It says Alfred Simmons, horse slaughterer and glue boiler. Boxer is being sent to the knacker's yard.
Oh, good.
Each just devastating. And it fulfills Old Major's original warning that humans exploit animals until they're useless and then dispose of them. But the shocking twist. The betrayal comes not from Mr. Jones, but from Napoleon, the revolutionary leader.
The worker sacrificed for profit by the very regime that claimed to liberate him.
Precisely.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Connect the farm's dealings with the neighboring humans to the bigger picture. International relations before World War II.
Right, geopolitics comes onto the farm through the other farmers, especially Mr. Frederick of Pinchfield Farm.
Who represents?
Frederick is pretty clearly meant to be Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. Napoleon initially distrusts him, plays him off against the other farmer, Pilkington.
Who's Britain, maybe?
Sort of, yeah, representing the West. But then Napoleon makes this big deal, selling a pile of timber to Frederick.
This mirrors the Nazi-Soviet pact.
Exactly. The 1939 non-aggression pact between Stalin and Hitler. A really uneasy, cynical alliance.
And just like the real pact, the betrayal is swift.
Immediate and dramatic. Frederick pays for the timber with forged banknotes, worthless money. And then he launches this sudden, vicious attack on Animal Farm.
Destroying the windmill.
Destroying the nearly finished windmill. Just like Germany's surprise invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941 broke the pact.
We should also mention Moses the Raven. He comes back, doesn't he?
Yes. Moses, the tame raven who used to belong to Mr. Jones. He reappears, telling the animals tales of Sugar Candy Mountain.
Like heaven for animals.
A paradise where animals go when they die. Now, Napoleon had initially banned religion, called it nonsense, but now when things are really tough on the farm,
He lets Moses stay and preach.
he tolerates him, even gives him beer. It ties right back to Karl Marx's famous line about religion being the opiate of the people.
A way to distract them from their suffering.
Exactly. When the pigs can't provide real comfort or food, they let Moses offer the promise of pie in the sky, just like Mr. Jones used him before. It shows how the pigs are adopting the old tools of control.
Which leads us right to that profound, deeply disturbing ending. The final scene. The pigs are meeting with the human farmers.
Drinking, playing cards inside the farmhouse. The historical analysis points to this scene symbolizing the 1943 Tehran Conference.
Where Stalin met with Roosevelt and Churchill, the Western Allies.
Right. And literary critics confirm Orwell deliberately wrote that ending to conclude on a loud note of discord. He fundamentally didn't trust that wartime alliance between the USSR and the West. He didn't think it would last.
And that final image. It's one of the most powerful in all of literature, I think. The other animals looking in through the window.
Peering in, trying to tell their leaders apart from their old oppressors. Orwell writes they look from pig to man and from man to pig and from pig to man again.
But already it was impossible to say which was which.
Chilling, isn't it? It's the ultimate summary of the entire critique. The revolutionary leaders haven't just adopted the methods of the tyrants they overthrew.
They become them.
They've become indistinguishable. The greed, the oppression, the clothes, the walking on two legs. The failure of the revolution, in Orwell's view, was total. Power had completely corrupted the initial ideals.
So let's try to synthesize this. What's the big takeaway? The analysis confirms Animal Farm works brilliantly on those two levels, the simple animal story and the hidden layer of Soviet history.
Definitely.
But the reason it endures, I think, the reason we still talk about it, is that broader message, right? Orwell seems to be saying it's not just communists who get corrupted by power.
It's anyone. Power itself is the corrupting force, regardless of the ideology or the specific leaders. And the great tragedy, the great failure of these revolutions, is that the victims are so often the very people the revolution was supposedly meant to help.
The boxers of the world.
The boxers.
Yeah.
Always the boxers. The book remains this potent cautionary tale, doesn't it, about how easily truth can be twisted by propaganda,
Squealer.
how cynicism, like Benjamin's, that quiet knowledge without action, allows terrible things to happen,
Hmm.
and how blind faith, like Boxer's devotion, can lead directly to destruction. All those elements contribute to the decay of a society's ideals.
Which really raises a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. If Animal Farm's ultimate lesson is about the corrupting nature of power in general, not just one specific regime, how could we use those character archetypes today?
Like Squealer, the manipulator.
Exactly. Or the tragically devoted boxer. Or even the quietly observant, cynical Benjamin. How might those types help us analyze modern governments, maybe corporations, even, I don't know, local organizations?
That's interesting. Because the names change, the flags change.
Right. But maybe those core mechanisms of control, of manipulation, of loyalty and betrayal, maybe they remain surprisingly constant. Something to think about.